Excellent. So thank you for joining us today. And let's just talk a little bit about um, setting goals that are based on our values and the things that are important in our life. But first of all, why is goal setting important to resilience building in our life? It's very important when we're adapting to challenges to be mindful of our values. When resilience itself is a character trait that we have innately, but that we can also build and exercise and expand. It helps us to adapt to challenges that we have little or no control over, and also unexpected times of stress and change. And as we're filming this particular video, we have a pandemic in our country. We have quarantine, various stages of quarantine. We have employment issues. We have community violence issues that have arisen in the last 2 weeks. And we have the start of hurricane season. So if that's not enough challenge on top of everyday life, I just truly don't wish to add anything more to it, from my point of view. But to have a commitment to what we value in life brings us purpose, and it provides us with a plan to guide us through these challenges. So rather than reacting to challenges, we plan a response based on our values and our purpose in life. And we focus on those things that we have control over. And by focusing on where we have influence and what we control, we build our confidence and our sense of self-esteem during these difficult times. So how do you set your goals that are based on values? Well, the first thing that we do is, think about what's most important to you, because that's what you value. And secondly, I want to encourage you to really think about what you value. Let go of things that you think you should value. And maybe there's folks in your life, or maybe, from your past, that have pressured you to value certain, core beliefs. But, politely decline what others have pressured you to value if they're not in line with what you feel strongly about. And once you have thought about those core values, commit to making those values a bigger part of your life. And how do you do that? How do you narrow this world full of values to your core set of values? And when I work with folks in individual counseling, I usually recommend that they have no more than 10 core values. And that sounds like a lot. However, I'm always surprised at how difficult it is for people to only decide on 10 core values. Now, the way you could start off with this is looking at a list of common values such as family, friendships, adventure, money, spirituality, your physical fitness. Do you enjoy learning new things? What about the outdoors and nature? What kinds of entertainment do you value? Does making a difference in your community, is that important to you? Creativity, the arts, music. What about travel, sports, and cooking? Being here in Louisiana, we love our cooking, and we love to share it with our friends. So you could start off with these common values, more common values, and begin to rank them on a scale of 1 to 10. Which one would rank a 10? It's really important to you. And which ones rank maybe a 7, which is kind of strong, or maybe a 5, which is rather neutral. Anything lower than a 5 or a 4 might not be that valuable to you, although it is to other people, and there's no right or wrong answer. Like I said before, be careful not to be choosing things that you think you should value, but be sure to focus on the things that you do value. And then when you're in the next phase of after you've prioritized your values, recall, when was the last time I enjoyed that value? And what I mean by that is, for example, if you value sports, when and what was the last sports activity that you enjoyed? I just wonder how much time has gone by since that's been a part of your life. And so you can do that with each of your values. And this is really important part of resilience, because I'm giving you a stress alert. The time away from your most valued activities depletes your enjoyment in life and your motivation to take care of less fulfilling tasks. So if there's something in your life that you really value highly, but it's been a while, weeks, months since you've been able to enjoy that activity or that piece of your part of your life, that would be a great place to start in setting goals for, for resilience building. And so select that area, that value, commit to that value in your life that you want to improve by setting a goal. And setting goals need to be within your realm of influence. Many of the stressors in our country today are not under our influence. We do not have control over them, and we accept that, but we look to the things that we do have control over. So definitely put your efforts where you have the most impact in improving your life and your outlook. Be careful not to fall into the wishful thinking trap. Be sure to separate wishful thinking from your real situation, the things that you truly have influence and control over. Then turn big goals into short-term, medium-term, intermediate term, long-term goals, because sometimes it might take a while to actually reach your final goal. And it's very helpful to break it down into smaller steps and give yourself time to accomplish what you'd like. Be flexible, because situations change, especially during times like this. And be careful not to blame yourself if something changes and you're not able to accomplish the goal. Try to go back to what you set out for yourself and adjust it to the things that are in your influence and are still important to you. And so I'm asking you, as you plan goals to strengthen your resilience, that you be kind to yourself and know that there are things that might derail your plan, but it won't be your fault. That's the important thing to remember. And there are ways to work around those obstacles. Now, writing down your goals are very important, because you can keep checking back to see what you've accomplished. Some people like to set a date and write down the date when they've actually accomplished their goal. I have 2 ideas for you to start writing down resilience building goals. And the first one is called the average perfect day exercise. So this is where you grab a piece of paper or a journal book, or type this into a blog on your computer, wherever you like to store your thoughts, and begin to answer these questions for yourself. What is my average perfect day? What would a perfect waking up routine look like? What would I do first? Do I have a cup of coffee? Do I read the newspaper? Do I greet my children and have breakfast with them? What is your perfect waking up routine? And then what happens next? Where do you go to work? Or where do you go to school? Who do you engage with? after your waking up routine? What are the activities in your everyday life and in your perfect day? And remember to always be thinking about the values that you prioritized earlier in our activity today. What activities and adventures would you do on your perfect day? Would you go to the park? Would you go to the zoo? Would you enjoy a museum trip or a movie, taking a walk, physical exercise? And who would you do these things with? And clearly, under a pandemic and quarantine, we have less options than we used to, but we still have options. And so focus on the options that are in your area of influence. And so once you've jotted down a few activities or adventures that you would want to do in your perfect day, think about what would your favorite meals look like and what would a nutritious meal look like for you. Write down your average perfect day in its entirety, and then from that exercise, pick out one or two goals where you could implement that perfect activity in your average day. The second exercise that could help you get started on this journey of goal setting is one called thinking about 1 year from now. And so once again, writing down answers to questions about what type of work will I be doing? Will I have new skills, new responsibilities? And how would I acquire those skills? Am I going to take a night class? Am I going to learn a new language? What would I like to do? And how would I like things to be different at work a year from now? Maybe you want to focus on your finances 1 year from now. Will you be saving for something? Would you be paying off debts? Would you be wanting to purchase a home, purchase a new car? Think about what your finances what you'd like them to look like a year from now. And what about your relationships? Are you happy in the relationships that are in your life now? Do you need to connect with more people? Has the pandemic and the quarantining reduced your socialization, and do you need to connect with more people? What about your home? Would you buy a new home? Would you make improvements in a year? What's important to you about your home and having it be comfortable for you, for your loved ones? And another area to think about in 1 year would be, how will you feel mentally, physically, spiritually 1 year from now? And how will you get there? What activities would you do to improve your situation and to reach your goal for 1 year from now? The next thing to do, and we cannot leave this out because many of us with our best intentions forget to schedule time to achieve our goals. And this is key. We found out what we value. We know what we value. We have learned how to plan ways to bring our values into our lives. And now we need to make time in our schedule to devote to our goals. Now, this can be the biggest challenge for some people who have very busy schedules. You don't have to do it every day. It could be once a week, once every 2 weeks. It could be twice a week. I'm just throwing out, that there's no right or wrong answer. So when could you make time in your schedule to devote to your goals? And if you're not quite confident that you're going to be able to meet your goals and really put them into action, it really helps to ask someone for help, or set up reminders for yourself, or ask others to remind you. It might be even better to ask others who share your interests and your values to join in and to support you as you're working to meet your goal. So that for today is, you know, how to get to the point of making and scheduling your goals. Then your next activity is going to be to celebrate your accomplishments. And this is what truly builds our resilience, to recognize our strengths, to build our confidence in our abilities, and to see that we have influence in our lives, even when some things seem to be so large and to be so um, uh, untouchable, that there are ways that we can take our lives into our own control. Please have compassion as you're working through this set of goal setting. There will most likely be unforeseen obstacles that interfere. It's not your fault, and these things happen, but be flexible and let your goals evolve along with the unforeseen obstacles. So that is my talk today about goal setting. Thank you so much for joining me. We will be back in 2 weeks with a webinar for Tuesday's Toolbox. Next week, we will have our social connection with Powell and myself, opening up the discussion. We're going to focus and talk about goal setting next week and answer your questions about today's webinar.